My 47 meters daughter Stacy, 15F, has one of the two rooms in my house with an ensuite bathroom. It's a largish room with a nice bay window, obviously very nice. I've recently become engaged to my girlfriend of 3 years, Alice, 33F, and her landlord has recently hiked her rent, so we're planning to have her move in with me. She has some kids. She has 2 daughters, 13F, 10F, and 2 sons, 11M, 9 meters. She is also pregnant, with our daughter due in about 5 months. I've made it absolutely clear to my daughter, as a condition of getting her approval on moving my girlfriend in, that she is allowed to keep her room, and she is also allowed to have a full lock on her door. For what it's worth, I also got my son's, 24 meters, blessing to give away his old room, although that's more of a moot point, as he lives with his own girlfriend now. My daughter plans to go to school locally, and I have told her in no uncertain terms that she's welcome to live at home for the rest of my life, and after that she can inherit the house. I bought the house with her mother and paid it off in large part with her mother's life insurance 10 years ago, so it only seems fair. She says she's alright as long as she has her room and her bathroom and she's allowed to put a lock on her door. She has a toaster oven and a mini fridge in there, so I guess she's pretty well set up. Stacy will be giving up a room that she's currently using as a studio/project space. She does art, videos and voiceovers etc., so even her larger room will become a bit more cramped, and she'll definitely need the extra space she has. There will be a bedroom for Alice's girls, Stacy's old project room, and Alice's boys will be getting my son's old room. I'm going to be putting in a finished nursery/bedroom in the basement for our new daughter. Alice thinks that this is unfair. She thinks it was wrong of me to make the decision without her, and she also thinks that she should move her 2 daughters into Stacy's room, and that Stacy should have to move to the smaller room that they'll be getting. The 2 of them already share a smaller room than the one I'm moving them into as it is, so they are getting an upgrade regardless. Alice thinks that it's not fair for Stacy to have a bathroom all day herself and that there won't be enough bathrooms for everyone else. She also disapproves of Stacy being able to lock everyone out. There were other smaller things she didn't like that I agreed to with Stacy, like the fact that she is to be paid for any babysitting, or the fact that my older car, her mom's old car, is hers when she gets her driver's license. We'll have our own bathroom in the master bedroom, and the house has 3 other bathrooms besides, 1 on each floor, 1 near what will be her girls' room, 1 not far from what will be the boys' room, and 1 little basically be directly next to the new finished room. I told Alice that my deal with Stacy is non-negotiable, set in stone, and that it's literally a condition of her even moving in. Alice is upset that Stacy and I both have spaces completely dedicated to ourselves. I have my office, which I need because I work from home and have projects besides, and there aren't a whole lot of other spaces to put people. I told her she can pretty much do what she wants in the living room, but that it is what it is and there's pretty much nothing to be done about it. A bigger house is not an option unless Alice is going to start making a hell of a lot more money and buy her own bigger house. It's already a pretty big house, and housing is expensive. I told her that she's already getting a break by my only expecting her to contribute 15 or 20% to household bills. If we were doing it proportionately, it would be more like 25 to 30%. We keep separate finances, and we've agreed to a prenup. Alice just seems upset and I won't change the setup even though there's no real way to change it, and she's accused me of treating Stacy like a spoiled little princess and letting her be queen of the house. Frankly, my daughter comes first. She's lived here all her life, and I already know it's going to be a big adjustment having all these other kids move in. As much as I love Alice and as much as I want our relationship to work out, if it's a matter of choosing between the 2 of them, then my relationship with Alice is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Update 1. First, to address a few questions that seemed to keep coming up before I lost the ability to read each and every reply, although I'm still trying. My son, 24 meters, is my child from a previous relationship before I married my late wife. He has his own provisions in my will, but he's quite aware that the house goes to his sister. My own sister is to become guardian of my daughter if anything should happen to me. I love my sister as dearly as I love anyone, and she and her niece love each other and get along great. I trust her completely if, God forbid, anything should happen. Yes. The basement is an unusual place for a nursery, but I was just trying to make people fit where they could go. The move was supposed to be happening within a month, and Alice's older kids needed rooms now. Meanwhile, the baby isn't going to be born for about 5 months, so she could go into the room that isn't made yet. I honestly figured we could keep a crib in our room for a bit, and after that it's no big deal for a kid to have her room in a finished basement. Also honestly, I didn't want to move my office. It's been where it is forever and I didn't want to move it. I can admit that. We've had the beginning/groundwork of a finished basement since forever, but there was never any reason to really put a move on it. It was a big change to go from having more room than we need with just me and Stacy rattling around in the house to suddenly scrambling for space and to not having enough. It was the obvious spot where an additional bedroom could go, but not a spot where a bedroom is now. Alice and I had talked about marriage and children more or less in the abstract on many occasions, and we both wanted to get married, at some point, if things continued to work out, and I wanted to have more children, although this pregnancy was quite unexpected. It was Alice's pregnancy combined with the rent hike on her place that accelerated the timetable on things. For what it's worth, the rent hike is real. I've seen the paperwork. And I have literally no reason to suspect the baby is not mine. But yes, the only reason why we got engaged so recently is because Alice got pregnant. The only reason why Alice and her kids would be moving in with me so suddenly is because she was likely to need to move somewhere, and I'd obviously like to be responsible for, be near, raise my coming daughter. To me, it made sense for my daughter to live with me. I never wanted to be an absentee/part-time parent or to not have time or share space with my child. The circumstances all made sense, at least until now. I was definitely wary of Alice and paying more attention to her, especially after the many comments that I read. I came to Reddit to get a sanity check on whether or not I was being an asshole about my conditions with Stacy, not to try to actually make any kind of major life or relationship changes. But I didn't want to turn a blind eye either. It was Friday, and Stacy texted me, asking for her allowance. I was with Alice at the time, and I went ahead and let the subject come up. I give Stacy $100 a week. Alice thinks that this is crazy and excessive. She thinks it's improper, and she's brought it up as an example of how she thinks I'm raising Stacy like a spoiled princess. She said as much again when I told her I was sending Stacy her allowance, but this time Alice also asked if her kids would get the same allowance after we get married. I told her that someday our new daughter would probably get an allowance just like Stacy does, but that there was no way I had any plans of shelling out an extra $400 a week for her other kids. Alice got upset. She said that Stacy wastes my money on shoes and makeup. She has previously criticized Stacy for wearing fancy sneakers, high heels, and makeup, and she said that I was showing favoritism and that is a form of abuse. She complained about me letting Stacy buy things with my credit card and store my credit card on her phone when I don't even let Alice do that. She said that whatever money was going to go to the kids should be split evenly amongst them. When I shrugged and told her that that wasn't going to happen and that I wasn't going to cut Stacy's allowance, she snapped at me and said that a man living alone with his daughter and doting on her like I do is creepy and incestuous, and she said you've just replaced your dead wife with your daughter, and you need to stop. That was it. Sure. I've ignored a lot of red flags up till now, but that was it. She started trying to tell me about how it's unhealthy for me to be so close with Stacy and how she didn't want her kids to be neglected, and how she wanted to be treated as an equal if we were getting married, but I interrupted her and I told her that I don't think we should be getting married. I told her that I don't want her moving in and that we were going to need to work something else out. To be perfectly honest, my sister, my brother, and some of my friends have expressed some of the same misgivings about Alice that I've read, although they were generally a lot more gentle about it. I was in love with her. In fact, I'm still in love with her, and I wasn't seeing things clearly. I told her that I would always and definitely make sure that our child had a roof over her head, but that she was going to have to work something out for herself and her kids on her own. Obviously, we had a huge fight. She screamed at me. She called me a heartless bastard. She blamed Stacy for trying to sabotage our relationship. She guilt-tripped me about her cost of living and how I'm in an empty house all by myself. She also guilt-tripped me about the stress on the baby, and I actually do feel bad and worry about that. She eventually broke down crying and told me to leave. In the past 10 years, this was the first relationship with a woman I've had that became serious. I love her, and this hurts. It hurts a hell of a lot. I told Stacy that she didn't have to bother moving her stuff out of the other room, that Alice wasn't coming, and we hugged. She asked if this was her fault, and I told her no. I told her I honestly feel like marrying Alice would have been a mistake even if the two of them could have been best buddies. I always wanted to have a few more kids, and I've missed having a wife, but things don't always happen the way we want. So I'm pretty sure my relationship with Alice is effectively over, even if we're going to be raising a child together for the foreseeable future. My new daughter can have my son's old room whenever we work out whatever custody agreement we end up working out. I'm not sorry to be having another kid, even if I really wish the circumstances could be better. The red flags were always there. I guess it's better that I notice them now instead of even later. Now story 2, daughter neglected her sister and used her inheritance for legal fees. Now she wants the rest for college, but I'm torn because of the pain she caused. I have 3 kids, male 24, F18, and F14. My late husband died very unexpectedly 4 years ago due to COVID. He didn't have a will, but we had a life insurance policy that provided a $360,000 death benefit. As his spouse, I received the full amount. I decided to divide the money 4 ways. I would get $120,000, and each of my 3 kids would get $80,000. At the time, my daughters were both minors, so I told them they could access their full amount when they turned 18. However, if they ever wanted to do something pricey, I would allow them to use some of their share. Most of their needs were taken care of by me. My son was over 18, so I gave him his share right away. This arrangement was a verbal agreement, and I intended to follow through with it fully. Recently, however, my middle daughter, we will call her Maya, was arrested in December for child endangerment because she severely neglected her little sister, leading to something awful happening under her care. She had to use some of her $80,000 to pay for lawyer and court fees, which left her with about $65,000. Fast forward to today, and my youngest daughter is still struggling significantly. During her checkups, she scores very low on mental health evaluations and is on a high dosage of antidepressants. She often jokes that if she were to tell us or the doctors how she truly feels, she would be put in a psych ward. Maya no longer lives with us, as I felt her presence was doing more harm than good to her sister. She's staying with my parents for now but has been begging me to give her the money I promised after she graduated. I've been hesitant to do so. My sister, who is familiar with the situation, believes Maya doesn't deserve the money and that I should use it to stay home longer with my youngest, who will be alone during the day once I return to work soon. With my youngest's declining mental health and school being out, I'm very worried about her. Maya is about to go off to college, and I know most of the money would go toward that. However, I'm still very angry with Maya for the pain she caused her sister. I'm having a hard time making this decision. So, Wibta, if I kept her inheritance? Edit, I didn't expect so many comments, but I reading through all them, to the ones that are asking what would husband say if he was here. I honestly don't know, that's why I'm conflicted. A part of me want to think he would honestly say, for me to give Maya the money so she go to college, because college was important to him. But also another part of me knows if he heard the details about what happened to Leah he would be way brutal than I am and disown her permanently, so it's hard to make a call on what would he want when I don't know. Update 1. So I talked to Leah further about what the psych said to her make her uncomfortable. She told me when I left they made her sit down with him one-on-one. To basically debrief why she was there and what's causing her to have these thoughts, and she opened up to him and told her about the rape. However, he asked her if this was her only sexual experience and she told him yes. But he kept questioning her like he didn't believe it was her only experience and saying to her that he won't tell me if it wasn't, that she can say it, and she kept having tell him no, that was her only experience. Then he asked about her sexuality, if she's still attracted to men, and she just told him that she doesn't think about relationships right now. She just said that she felt weird about him asking a lot of questions about her sex life, when it was just those two alone in a room with the door closed. I'm not gonna accuse the psych of being a creep, because maybe he was simply doing his job, but I feel like he should have known to have a female staff ask her those questions. Or just have a woman present. He had have seen her chart before he seen her. Update 2. The inpatient facility was not for her whatsoever. I read the reviews on this place and it had really horrible reviews. I learned from my coworker, he told me that clinics like that only exist to break down children into not having mental health issues and to act normal. Leah said she didn't shower and barely slept her entire time there. She didn't shower because someone would needed to monitor her, and she couldn't sleep because it's apparently not allowed to sleep with a blanket over her face, and they had cameras in her room with an intercom to wake her every time she did put a blanket over her face. However, she did say that she learned her situation can be much worse after hearing some of the other kids' stories. She told me she's grateful for me. Yes, I did cry. I will be letting her speak at the sentencing. I didn't realize she didn't have to speak in front of everyone and that there's a lot of other options. She's into the idea of a voice memo currently, so she won't get triggered seeing her rapist staring at her. Maya randomly came to the house unannounced to drop off flowers for Leah. Leah told her she attempted, and I didn't talk to her the entire visit. When she left I told Leah Maya isn't allowed here and I'm really mad at her and I would like it if she limited her contact with her. She thinks I'm trying to put her in the middle. Which I'm not, but after the sentencing I will be telling her about Maya's actions towards her and how she was wrong. I was going to give Maya the opportunity to tell Leah herself. But Maya has a habit of telling half-truths to cover her lie. So we will see. I'll update you guys in coming weeks after the sentencing and after I tell Leah about Maya. Broadly, I think you have a massive problem with disciplining your children. Maya allowed Leah to be gang-raped, and her punishment was losing her car? That would be far too small a punishment for throwing a party, much less one where she let her sister be gang-raped. Maya tells you she feels no remorse or responsibility for allowing Leah to be gang-raped, and her punishment is being sent to live with her grandparents. Meanwhile, you have qualms about whether you should give her $65,000. Maya's pedophile boyfriend tries to put the moves on 12-year-old Leah. Maya refuses to talk to Leah for 3 months, because, of course, it's Leah's fault for being such a slut, right? Maya this day still holds a grudge, which also makes me question the extent to which she was merely negligent, rather than liable, for her sister's gang rape, and you've allowed Leah to feel responsible for Maya's pedophile boyfriend, and guilt for ruining his relationship with Maya. Did you punish Maya at all for her insane reaction? Or did you throw up your hands and meekly nod when she told you about how you were making her feel sad? I think you need to take a hard look at your disciplinary track record, and I suspect there's a not insignificant degree of accountability for the way Maya has turned out. You let her affiliate with gang members. She has such little respect for you, or belief that she'll be punished, that she feels comfortable throwing a rager and trying to set her sister up with a much older boy. She was clearly correct in predicting that there wouldn't be any consequences, since even with Maya getting gang raped by the boy and 3 of his friends, her only punishment was losing a car. It might be too late for Maya, but it isn't too late for you to protect Leah from her, and to make it absolutely clear how unacceptable Maya's behavior has been. To this point, you've been tacitly endorsing it, so of course Leah feels conflicted. Her moral guide, you, seems to be blind. There was a lot happening the day of the incident. Leah was in the hospital and initially refused to tell the authorities what happened, only briefly mentioning who did this to her in the ambulance. It took 3 hours for her to give her statement and close to 5 hours to agree to undergo a rape kit. I was there when Leah gave her statement, and she barely mentioned her sister. Meanwhile, my whole house turned into an active crime scene, so I was dealing with that while being at the hospital with Leah. Maya was also being interrogated this entire time, and when I got the call from her, she told me they had arrested her and charged her with child endangerment because she threw a party while babysitting. It made sense to me at the time. I wasn't thinking properly, as a lot was going on and my emotions were all over the place. I did help her, and I do regret it. I didn't know the extent of her actions until the cop who interrogated her told me what made him arrest her was because she left the house. He might have let it go if she had cooperated during the interrogation. She wasn't giving many names of the guests who were there and forgot a lot of details. When I confronted Maya about her lying, she was crying and told me how bad she felt. She said they were confusing her during the interrogation and that she wasn't fully sober. She was crying while telling me this and insisted she didn't intend for anything bad to happen to Leah. She just figured Leah was asleep when she left and wouldn't need anything. Again, my mind never went to Maya having anything to do with this because she was there for Leah for most of the time, up until after her own hearing when she found out that she wouldn't be serving any jail time. That's when I noticed her energy switched, which led to my first post. Regarding the situation with Maya's ex, Maya was mad at Leah because I did leave out a detail in the post that I didn't find relevant at the time, as her ex is the only culprit to me. But Leah and her ex were communicating back and forth for 5 months before I realized that Leah had been secretive about her phone and who she was talking to. The messages were very inappropriate, and they were having a secret relationship. He was grooming her, and they even kissed while Maya wasn't looking at one point. When I told Maya, she didn't initially believe me, so I showed her the messages. She was very heartbroken that her boyfriend was grooming her sister and also talking horribly about her to her little sister. I took the approach of letting her be upset about it so she felt her feelings were validated, even if that meant not talking to her sister for a bit. I realize now it was a wrong approach, because it obviously manifested into something much awful. There are a lot of flaws in my parenting, I will admit that. There are many things I did that I really wish I could take back or handle differently. My husband was more of the disciplinarian between the two of us, and since he died, I've been trying to find my backbone. To put it quite simply, the only defense I have is that I'm just a mom who was thinking with emotions in these moments and not logic. What is the brother's reaction to all of this? I would ask him to come and stay with you guys for a bit if at all possible, if for nothing else than an extra pair of eyes on Leah. If she is comfortable with this, of course. He knows about what happened with Leah and has been very supportive and helpful. Him and my Dill always pick up Leah to get her out of the house. They both work so they do what they could.